Have you ever experienced something so crippling in your life that has made you feel broken? I have. Are you someone who has a giving heart but is struggling to feel good themselves? Are you consistently putting your needs aside to take care of everyone else? If so, you're not alone. Giving starts with giving to yourself so that you are able to give of yourself to other people. Isn't it time you took back control and discovered what makes you tick? Join me in my journey and find out how you can feel better about yourself, live your best life, and share that with others. Thinking of yourself, it doesn't make you selfish, it makes you brave. I'm Nelia, and this is the Giving Starts With You podcast. Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Giving Starts With You podcast. I'm your host, Nelia Hutt. I'm back from taking this summer off to reconnect myself, my family, and I've been creating workshops and programs to help you better in the meantime. I'm rejuvenated after giving this gift to myself, and I am ready to talk with you about important topics and bring you some of the best guests we've ever had on the show. So welcome to season 3, everyone. Today, we're going to deep dive into a topic that affects so many of us in today's world, and something that I am personally very passionate about on the Giving Starts With You podcast, and that is eradicating loneliness and a lack of connection. We want to end loneliness. Hey, the reality is I look around and there's so many lonely and unhappy people, and that doesn't need to be the case. In a world that is more connected through technology than ever, there is no question in my mind that we need more human connection with others, but with ourselves too. More people than ever are experiencing loneliness, and it just makes me sad. We live in a time where social media makes us less social and feel more isolated and withdrawn rather than connected. And today's topic is all about lack of connection, and I want to speak to you guys about changing that. So first of all, I wanted to let you know that I just returned from a solo trip where I made beautiful connections with friends and with new clients, which helped me not miss my family back home as much, because of those wonderful and beautiful connections. So I was in Wyoming. I was hosting my Overflow Your Bucket workshop, where I taught how to create a giving back bucket list that serves both you and impacts others and makes great human connections all at the same time. Part of my journey to Wyoming included this long layover that had me feeling kind of more anxious about my next flight. I was still waiting for another flight out towards Toronto. I started missing my family and friends more during that layover, and it made me feel more anxious, more tired. I don't like to fly. I love to travel, but I don't like the flying portion. So when I had some time to think about it and some downtime to really, kind of exhale, all of that anxiety started appearing for me. So what happened next was incredible. So a lady that I didn't know, some random stranger, sat down to me next at the airport. And we just started a conversation. She was reading a book. I was asking her what she was reading about. And it just happened that she had just come and she was on her way home from visiting her family after 40 years. So she was visiting her aunt of 86 years old and hadn't seen her since she was 46. I found this incredible. She had so many things to say about, the lack of, or all the years that had gone by without seeing her family. And this is a reality for so many people. Life happens. And sometimes time can move so quickly and we don't even realize. So then we started talking about books and the importance of connection with people that we love. And I was explaining to her what I was doing and who I was and why I was in Wyoming. And we realized we had a few things in common. So I reached into my carry-on bag and gifted her a copy of my book. It's called Giving My Heart Room to Breathe. And that short but face-to-face interaction left us both feeling better, less anxious about our next flight, and ready for the next part of our journey. And that's just a small example of what making a short but meaningful connection can look like. So, at the end of the day, there is no substitute for face-to-face interactions. And that's what I'm preaching today. Because a lack of connection with other people can leave us feeling so many things. Some of those things include lonely and isolated, especially at the airport when you don't know a soul, emotionally distressed. Not having connections can make it harder for us to express and share our emotions when we do have to, when we do need to do that, when we have the need to share our emotions. Having that lack of connection can really alter how we connect with people when we really need to share our stories and when we need somebody on our side. It can decrease our mental well-being. It can, in my case, it exacerbated my anxiety of flying when I didn't have anybody to talk it over with. Lack of connection, it can reduce self-esteem and self-worth. It can limit your personal growth and development, your empathy. You can get out of practice and get out of practice when it comes to empathizing with other people, when you don't do it very often, if that makes sense. It can it can lead to weakened immune function. It can increase inflammation. It can even be a high risk of chronic disease. There are so many things. You can find yourself more susceptible to negative effects of stress. And one thing that's really important to me is it can really disconnect you from your purpose, your passion, and leading a meaningful life. Meaningful relationships contribute to a sense of purpose. And when these connections are lacking, people like me and you tend to struggle to find a sense of direction and purpose. It's great to bounce ideas off of people and just learn about yourselves through speaking with others. In order to help you make those connections, because some of us are more shy than others, some of us are more introverted, and it's hard for some of us to belong to certain clubs or introduce ourselves to new people. So I've got some tips and strategies on how to do that a little bit easier. Now, active listening. So paying full attention to the person you're talking to shows them that you're interested. Ask some follow-up questions and validate their feelings. That's part of active listening. A smile. So I was on the airplane and I was next to a gentleman who was flying to Minneapolis with me. And we were both solo travelers, and I don't think he understood English. And in addition to that, we both had our headphones on, but yet I had some candy and we were both kind of like anticipating takeoff. And so I just, I offered him some of my candy, and he didn't really understand that. But as soon as I smiled and held out my hand, he reciprocated that smile. And then later on the flight, when some time had gone by, he smiled at me and offered me some of his cookies, which was super sweet. But yeah, so a genuine smile can go a long way. You don't need to speak the same language to understand the signs of and what it means to accept or give a friendly smile. Use the person's name when you're speaking about them. It really feels like you're showing respect. And it's a great way to remember their name when you've just met someone. Maintaining eye contact is a big one. When you make eye contact, it conveys confidence and attentiveness. Just don't overdo it so it's not leery and weird. We can sometimes overdo eye contact and make people feel uncomfortable, which is not what we're after. Finding common interests. So talk to someone. It's only in a conversation that you can find out whether or not you have any commonalities, like hobbies or interests. Do you like sports? Do you like certain TV shows, hobbies? Do you have any common ground? Try to stay away from religion and politics. That's my suggestion. If you're going to give somebody a compliment, do it genuinely. Don't just give them a compliment because nobody likes that. Nobody likes a fake conversation. Making a connection is not made through fake compliments and fake connections. One of the best ways I found is to share a personal story. Now, not everybody feels comfortable doing that. I share my personal story all the time now that I have a podcast, and it does make for beautiful connections with other people, because if people hear what you are saying, they tend to share and maybe take something from that. Now, if you don't feel like sharing personal stories with strangers, that's fine. I don't blame you. But there are a lot of other things that you can do as well. If you're talking to somebody, just ask them open-ended questions. So not just yes or no, but give them some space to elaborate. When you're making a connection, try to really be involved in the conversation. So you don't want to seem indifferent. If somebody starts a connection with you and you don't want to engage, that's okay too. You don't need to speak to everybody who starts a conversation with you, but please be open to sometimes trying that and connecting with those that make you feel comfortable. Outside of that, please remember to respect personal boundaries, whether at the airport or anywhere in life. There is a fine line between making connections and disrespecting people's space and boundaries. So keep that in mind. Another way to find a connection is to offer to help somebody. Here on the podcast, we're all about giving back. And sometimes that's what it takes. Do something nice for someone. And for those that are more social butterflies, attend social events, create your own social events. And remember that building a connection, it takes time and it doesn't always come naturally. Some of these connections you might stay with. For example, you may continue, and some will just be like this lady, Cindy, that I met at the airport yesterday. And that was okay as well. So I've talked to you so far about why it's important to make connections and how you can try to make connections with other people. But one of the most important connections that you can make is with yourself. And some of the ways that you can connect with yourself so that you feel less lonely, I will share with you in a moment, because we can be in a room full of people, and the truth is you can still feel lonely. You can still have a lack of connection. So some of the things that you can do when you are feeling lonely, in the company of yourself, is mindful breathing, meditation, journaling, take a nature walk. And I love to just unplug from social media. Do something artistic or creative. You could exercise, do some yoga. I love reading, so reading a book. You could practice gratitude. Listen to your body. If you're tired, have a nap. That's me. I tend to get tired in the afternoon. And sometimes I say to myself, I'm just way too busy to do that. But man, it feels really good when I listen to my body and just take that short nap. Disconnect from just being busy. Sometimes, as you can tell, I talk a lot. And sometimes the silence is uncomfortable for me. So I need to learn how to be in silence with myself, and connect with your passions. Engage in activities or hobbies that truly fill you up, that make you feel just happy and fulfilled. So do things that you love no matter what. They do give you a sense of purpose and belonging. And that's what we're all about here. We're all about recognizing that you have to give to yourself before you can give to other people. So remember that self-connection is a continuous process. It's okay to take small steps, and it might take some time for you to find out what works for you. So be patient and compassionate as you explore some of these things that I mentioned today. It's obvious that we live in a in an age right now where technology is huge. It's changing how we connect with one another. And to me, social media is less about being social than ever. And so don't be afraid to take that one step further and be social in other platforms as well. Genuine connections do live outside of screens, believe it or not. And I hope this episode has inspired you to take more meaningful steps to nurture and to make those connections that will fulfill your life and will help you on your journey towards less loneliness, if that makes sense. So I invite you guys that are listening, if you'd like to share some of your personal stories, whether on the podcast or just with me, please email me. We can discuss your stories and give you a space where you can connect with other people because you're not alone. Many of us feel lonely at times, but I'm hoping that today's episode will help you make those human connections with others and with yourself. Lastly, before we go, I just want to let you know that I am working on an online version of my workshop, Overflow Your Bucket. If you guys are interested and want to get on the wait list for it, you can email me at hello@neliahutt.com. And that's NELAHUTT.com. It's great to be back for a new episode, and I cannot wait to share some of my guests with you. I've got a couple of months lined up already, and I can't wait. So thank you, and welcome back to the show. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please subscribe or leave a review. See you next week on the Giving Starts With You podcast. If you're ready to expose and target the areas of your life that are not getting you closer to living your best life, then I have created just the thing to help you. I've created a Live Your Best Life blueprint. It's a free download that you can now get at www.travellivegive.com/blueprint/. This blueprint will look at 7 key areas of your life, from how you manage your mental health to how you show up in your relationships, from self-care to job satisfaction, and how and what you choose to spend your free time on so that you can start living the life you deserve, desire, and crave. Because after all, it's time to start feeling better and create a life that makes you proud. You'll also learn in this blueprint more about yourself. You'll get clear on what really matters. You'll stop making excuses and take action, and be one massive step closer to the life you want to live. Life is way too short not to live your best life. So what are you waiting for? Go to www.travellivegive.com/blueprint.